believe in one thing, that we are all beautiful minds. Everybody sitting there, everybody present in this room, we are a beautiful mind. We just need to apply it. I make movies, and I feel that our life is like a movie, and we have separate scenes. We have all the chapters of our life are like these scenes of the movie, and it unfolds into a brilliant screenplay. Sometimes what happens is the scene which you really don't like of your life, which is suppose the scene number 13, which is one of the worst scenes of your life, and you want to change it, you realize that the scene number 32, which is one of your best phases of your life, changes. So I think it is all about the screenplay. It's all about learning and growing. Movies, films. Today what I offer to you is a small trailer of my life, and I hope you guys like it. My dad was a photographer. I was born in Bombay to a photographer father, and early days of my life I had spent in a dark room where there was my Lego toys was not there. I had these empty boxes of film rolls which my dad used to kind of have, and I used to make houses out of them. We had these negatives which we used to project as kids on walls and say, oh, this is our movie. It used to never move, but that is what we played with. The thing which I really remember is when my dad took me for the first time in the lab, there was a red light on, and I saw this image being formed on an empty paper, and that was magical. And I think that is an image which kind of stayed with me for years. My mom was a very religious woman. She used to do these jagratas. I hope you all know jagratas. There's these bhajans which you sing all night for the Almighty. So what I remember out of that jagratas is the energy of the music being played there. In that room, there used to be a dholak guy going dum pak, dum dum pak. It was like, wow. And there was some energy which was so strong, and it still stays with me. And I realized that knowing music is being educated. The education is not only in the books, it's there in the life out there, and you just have to go and grab it. 1989, I was 13 years old, life changed. I lost my dad at that age, and my mom, she sold all the equipments which my dad had, all the cameras, everything was sold. And one day, when I was going through the cupboard where all my clothes were kept, I found this small camera which was there behind, and because it was not working, my dad had kept it somewhere inside the cupboard. I still have that camera with me. And I realized that my mom at that point was suffering from cancer. I had two sisters. My mom in '89, same year, dad died and mom expired in, mom passed away in November. And in that 11 months, I grew from a boy to a man. I was out there in this universe now, wanting to do things on my own. I was very, at that time I didn't know what death means. I remember going down and playing and having fun, and it really I didn't understand what death was. But eventually I did, and I understood that I have to earn my daily bread on my own. I started doing tuitions. I became a tuition teacher. I started teaching kids maths, history, geography, everything possible. I used to revise before going there because I used to learn, oh yeah, okay, and I used to go and teach them. Then I entered college. In college, I remember one thing which I found in college was a space which was mine, and that was the stage. When I went to the stage is when I realized that it was like an escapism for me. I used to go, whatever the life I was leading at that time, when I used to go on the stage, I was the most happiest person because it gave me a lot of, it was me at that time, at that moment when I was there at the stage. So, but I was a very nervous kid. So the journey from being a nervous kid, growing into a stage person was quite a journey. During that time, around college, I also sold lipsticks, makeup, phenyl. I had this. I was working with Eureka Forbes, selling vacuum cleaners to everybody, and the perk Eureka Forbes used to give is a motorcycle. So I wanted to do all that, and I was at a phase where I was in self-pity. I was at a phase where I was thinking, oh my God, life is so tough, and I was a little lost. And then I saw a film, and that film, I'll just show you a clipping which made an impact on me, and that clipping was from Sam Mendes' film called American Beauty. I'll just share this clip with you.
You want to see the most beautiful thing I've ever filmed? It was one of those days where it's a minute away from snowing. And there's this electricity in the air. You can almost hear it, right? And this bag was just dancing with me. Like a little kid begging me to play with it. For 15 minutes. That's the day I realized that there was this entire life behind things. And this incredibly benevolent force that wanted me to know that there was no reason to be afraid. Ever. Video's a poor excuse, I know. But it helps me remember. I need to remember. Sometimes there's so much beauty in the world. I feel like I can't take it.
Sometimes I wonder there's so much of beauty in the world that I can't take it. This scene, when you have this bag, plastic bag, which we have seen so many times, that wind is just taking that plastic bag with its flow. The bag doesn't try to fight it. It starts moving with the wind, and that turns into a dance. And that is what changed me. I stopped fighting. I started going with the wind and flowing with the wind. And I realized that I'm just a speck in this universe, yet I hold the whole universe within me. Movies became my refuge. Movies became my teacher, my lover, my guide, my parents. And whatever I started doing was with reference to the movies. And I realized one thing, it changed the whole perspective, the way I was looking at life. And I guess, as I say, it's all about perspective. It's the way you look at life. I remember once, there's this incident which I want to share. I was in Bangkok, I was an assistant director, and it was late night, around about 11 o'clock. And as I was walking down the street after the production work, we didn't have a place to stay because it was the first day. It was a small Aonang island where we were. So as I was walking down, everything was shut and I was not finding a place to stay. And suddenly I saw this guy who looked Indian, and he called and he said, you looking for a place to stay? I said, yes. He said, why don't you come from the front gate? And we entered. He had this restaurant, and restaurant was shut, but he said, are you hungry? He said, yes. He offered some food to us. He said, let me make few calls. He made few calls. And later on, we said, how much do we pay? What's the bill? And he said, you're my brother from India, and I won't charge anything. I was wondering, like, really? Are you going to do that to me? I said, what do you mean? Where are you from? He said, I'm a Pakistani. That changed a lot of things. I was told that people from Pakistan are not your friends. They're not your brothers. I was told, the media, the politicians, they fed my mind saying there is an enemy state across the border. But there was this guy who was human to me, irrespective of where I belong to, what I do. And there was this connect which I felt. And it changed things in my mind. It changed the way I looked at people. And I realized that most of the time what we do is we don't see things. We have a vision which is set by somebody else, and we see through their eyes. We never have a voice. We always have an echo. And I thought it would be great to see the world through your eyes. And at that point, this was definitely, and my love for movies. So when I think in the search of my roots, because my dad was from Lahore, my dad was born in Lahore. He moved to Jalandhar post-partition, and then he moved to Bombay. And I was wondering that, where do I belong? They say where I was born, or where my parents were born, or where they belong is an enemy state. So in search of films and in search of my roots, Filmistaan was born. Filmistaan for me was a metaphor of a land which is a no man's land. It's a land of films. It's a land where there's no space for hatred. There's no space for your country is good or my country is good. It was a space of being human. We wanted to say this via films so that the connect is a little better and more simpler. We used humor as a tool to put the point across. As I also understand that cinema is a very, very strong tool, and it can change the world. The impact which cinema has is great. And that brings me to this film by Clint Eastwood called Letters from Iwo Jima. Letters from Iwo Jima is about, there is this scene which is a very wonderful scene where a farmer who's turned into a soldier fighting at the border realizes while digging a bunker that this land is infertile and it won't actually have anything growing there. And he said, why are we fighting for this land? And that is about absurdity of lines. It's about why are we drawing these lines on a paper, from the paper to the land, and saying, okay, now there's a divide. You are somebody else, I'm somebody else. So it doesn't make sense to me. I find it very stupid, to put it simply. I don't believe, I believe we are all humans, and if we stop being jingoistic, there's a small difference between patriotism and jingoism. And I feel we are all, in our country, very jingoistic about things. Cinema apes life and life apes cinema. My journey, which I really feel should be where we create a cinema which is going to help change lives. When I was a kid, I remember aping all these actors and trying to be like them and understanding and hoping whatever they are saying is correct. So I want to create those heroes in my films, those characters in my films, which change, which make an impact in the mind of those kids who watch films, and they grow into a better world and they make world a better space. I wonder, who am I? Am I a Hindu? Am I a Muslim? I'm a Catholic? I'm a Jew? I'm everybody, or I'm none of the above? I wonder, where do I belong to? Bombay, Maharashtra, India, Asia, this universe? None of the above or all of the above. I'm a filmmaker, I'm a storyteller, I'm a producer, I'm a writer. Who am I? Is something which I keep wondering. And I realize that I am me. And I'm happy just being me. 39 years of my life, half of my life I've spent learning things and the other half unlearning them. I wish you see life from your perspective and make a film of your life which may not earn 100 crores, but definitely it's timeless. See to it that you make life timeless from your own experiences. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.